Good morning, everybody. So we're back to Monday. We're going to do something a little bit different again today. We're going to do a full body workout, so a little bit of everything in one set. So there's going to be 7 exercises so we can get through it all. All right, so that's it. So we're going to start with lower body, usually starting with the bigger muscle groups, right? We're going to do a sumo stance or wide-legged goblet squat. Generally, with the wide-legged stance, you can sustain a little bit more weight. So I'm going to put 2 dumbbells together and hold them. You don't have any weight, just press into something so you keep everything active in the upper body. So I'm just going to hold 2 dumbbells together, chest height, feet out wide, toes turned out. And then I'm going to make sure those knees stay out over those toes. I'm going to come down nice and slow, back stays neutral, and a little squeeze up to the top. So this feels super easy. Hold that bottom position, maybe add a quarter squat, squeeze up. If you want to add a little bit more challenge, you can come down, come up on your toes, plant the heels, push up. And when you get to the top, squeeze those glutes under, get the hips forward before you start again. So you're resetting each time. So you stay out, pause and squeeze up or down, tiptoes, heels, squeeze up. But whichever variation you choose to do, just make sure that the knees track out and back, right? So that rotation is out and back, so the knees stay out over the toes and the torso stays rigid, right? Not flexing, but rounding. All right, morning reps. Next exercise we're going to do is a single dumbbell pickup. So my dumbbells aren't ideal for this because they're rounded on the edge. They don't stand up tall, and you need a little elevation just because of the nature of the exercise. Unless you're super limber, it's not going to work next. Don't get mad. All right, so single leg dumbbell pickup. You're going to find that single leg deadlift stance. We're going to still think about, even though now we've got all that movement, we don't have that back foot elevated like we did last week, right? You still want to think about trying to keep everything relatively even. It's probably not going to be perfect, right? But try and keep the hips even, not open, not rotated down. Same thing with the upper torso. You're going to hinge, then bend, pick up the weight, squeeze, rebend the knee slightly. Once you've got as far down as you can in kind of that deadlift form, you can flex or bend that knee to set it down the last couple of inches. But the whole time, trying to keep this engaged, this connected, and stay relatively flat. Good. So these add up really fast because really it's 2 movements, right? And it's a little bit harder than just a regular single leg deadlift because you have that change in no weight. So your body's really got to adapt to that. You should really feel this on the sort of outside of that hip if you're picking up with the opposite hand. So we're going to do the same thing on the second side. If I got to remember how that goes. Okay. So glute stays under, slight bend to the knee. Hinge back first. You need to bend a little bit at the end. Bend and then stand up tall, get that glute under at the top. Hinge. Set the weight down. Come up without any weight. Rehinge. Right? Steady everything. Squeeze up. So 8 and 8, 10 and 10, 12 and 12, depending on how much weight. Don't overload the weight. This one's not purely about strength, right? It's about balance and stability in the hip, right? So you want to try and keep as even as possible so that you're not going to use as much weight as you would in a conventional deadlift, right? Or single arm deadlift, leg deadlift. All right. So moving on to one more exercise for the legs. I'm going to do a banded step up. So you can do any step up, doesn't matter, but I'm going to do a banded one today. So I'm going to wrap the band under and down. If you have the other ones with handles, right, you may need to double it up so it's not too long. But you could just double it up and then just hold on to the band part of it. Forget about the handles. So I'm going to hold the band on either side, set my shoulders back and down. I'm going to keep the other foot just slightly behind. I'm going to weight the heel in this foot that's up, squeeze up, and then come down with control. Trying to keep the upper body rigid. That knee stays still out and over the toe, just like in any other push-up. Step up. So just 8 to 10 on each side. And obviously this one gets harder at the top of the range of motion, so it really makes you think about getting that leg straight, pulling that kneecap up, getting that hip under at the top. And then as you release the tension, much harder to come down because the band's going to want to really pull you down. So same thing, second side, right? When you set up for any step up, you just want that toe slightly turned out, right? So that knee's going to stay out over the toe. You don't want the knee coming into the midline, especially with any sort of tension or weight added. So up, squeezing that kneecap up, getting that glute under at the top, trying to come down with control. Try not to push off too much with that back foot, right? Obviously, the higher the step, the tighter the band, harder this gets. All right, so 10 and 10, and Max, you're so in the way. Legs are done. All right, so we're going to upper body. We're going to do a dumbbell row. I've talked a lot about this one, but we haven't actually done just the straight up conventional one, so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to set up just on the side of the couch, right? Hips back behind, back flat. So the part that some of us often forget is just we've got to get that scapula back and down, right? We've got to retract it and then slide it down that back rib cage. So I'm going to do that part first and then just reach my elbow up and then all the way back down, setting my shoulder blade, squeezing up, all the way back down. But the whole time, my lower body is staying still, and I'm just thinking about that shoulder blade wrapping down and really squeezing at the top, all the way back down. Again, not enough weight. Slow the movement, especially that return down. And go from there. All right, so same thing, second side. Hips back, I'm going to row, squeeze up, all the way back down, row, squeeze up, shoulder rotates in and down. So with that shoulder blade, just like all those other movements, with that shoulder blade locked down, you should really feel the squeeze in the back. Right? Not in the shoulder, maybe a little bit of bicep, but really with the shoulder super engaged. I'm going to feel this much more in my lats and a mid back. Good, so variance you need, right? You can add a band if you don't have enough weight, around the weight like we did last week. Or just slow the movement down, right? Add a pause at the top. Again, just making it work for what you got set up. With our press, we're just going to do a banded press today. So I've got bands set up high to low, right? You just say attachment at the top of the door. You can do this at any angle, from top down, sort of mimics doing a press on a decline bench, which is a lot more shoulder friendly than some of the other presses, right? So you get to use a little bit more chest top to bottom than incline or flat, right? So you're going to take a step out, find enough tension. Slight bend to the knees, but this stays locked in. Just going to push forward with control and then back nice and slow. Forward with control, back nice and slow. No shoulders rolling up, making sure those shoulders stay way back and down. As I'm coming back, my shoulder blades are coming in together and sliding down my back rib cage. Each time I come forward, I'm engaging here, so I've got no movement in my lower body. So if you don't have bands, this is not the same as pushing with weight, right? You're going to want to be on the ball or on the mat if you're going to press with weight. Right, pushing straight out is more shoulder and you get sketchy. So if you don't have the band, you can do the push-up off the TRX. That would be equivalent to. So take your pick. All right. So that is upper body. So all we've got left is arms. So we're going to do 21s for our biceps. So find a weight or a band, totally fine with either one. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 7 curls straight to the top. My elbows do not move. My lower body does not move. So 7, half the range of motion, middle to end. 7, bottom to middle. At the bottom, though, I'm flexing my tricep and getting all the way to a straight arm. So I'm working that full range of motion, bottom to middle. So I'm going to do 7-ish like that. Then I'm going to do 7 full range of motion. So if this gets too hard with whatever way you have access to, switch the weight to neutral or hammer grip. Might make it a little bit easier if you have any elbow stuff, ditto. All right. So it ends up being 21 reps. So you're not going to do the same weight that you would do for 12 reps, right? You got to find the weight. It gets pretty tiring towards the end, and since you'll be doing 3 sets, it's a fair amount of biceps all the way front to end. All right, so the tricep exercise we're going to do today, we're going to do a kickback. So again, this requires some lower back stability and core stability. If that's not going on for you, go ahead and do the skull crusher, do the overhead press, and leave the kickback for another time. So we're going to do them both together. So hinging, right? The weight's going to stay up by my shoulders. My lower body stays super stable. So I'm pushing some air, right? I'm keeping that intra-abdominal pressure tight and high. So I'm not feeling the urge to arch the lower back, overarch around the lower back. We're just trying to keep it neutral, but steady. So weight's going to start up by the shoulders. You're going to squeeze and extend straight back, and then come back to the start. Keep the core rigid, brace and push back, come back in. So you should feel this pretty much whole tricep, right? The angle that you stand at makes a big difference. Squeezing to the top. So same thing, woo, close that up. 8 to 12 reps, depends on the weight, right? You can do the same thing with band, take your pick. So the last thing we're going to do is a little bit of core. We don't do this one very often in the gym. We're going to do a Russian twist. It's an oblique movement. The trick is, though, I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of people do the Russian twist where your legs are flailing all over. That defeats the point of doing the Russian twist. The Russian twist should ideally be done with super still lower body so that the rotation comes through that thoracic mid-spine, right? You don't want to be rotating down here. That is not the point, and that's not great for your back. So we want to keep that rotation in that mid-spine, which means our legs and our hips, hey buddy, has to stay stable. So weight, no weight, doesn't matter. You want to think about reaching the weight to the outside of the hips, but again, those legs don't move. So the first variation I would probably do is, right, sit up tall, have my feet just slightly out in front of me, rotate the weight over to the side, come back to the middle, rotate the side, come back to the middle, with just a slight lean back. If you feel anything that doesn't feel right in your lower back, this may not be the move for you, and pick one of the other oblique exercises we did last time in the core. So if you want the next harder version, you got to keep your feet up and tap to the side. But you got to keep those feet still. So think about reaching and pulling the legs in towards each other and squeezing them. The straighter the legs, the lower the angle, the more challenging it gets. But you should really be thinking about the rotation and the work being done here, right? It takes a lot of back stabilization and sort of deep abdominal stabilization too. But the twist and the work is along these obliques. All right. Whew, good start to the morning. So you're gonna do all of that 3 or 4 times through, right? The first one, kind of do it for practice, figure out what weight you're gonna use, how you're gonna get set up. And then the next 3 rounds, do for real, right? Make it work. Don't need too much rest because we're sort of moving through muscle groups, so you don't need to rest a bunch between each exercise. You could rest out of the group after the group of 7 exercises that we just did, and then get started again, right? Don't take too long of breaks, right? Make it challenging. Talk to you guys later. Thanks.